right, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome back, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last chance
Blue
for a
Moon
while.
is so good.
Oh, yeah.
So refreshing.
You need the orange, though. There's no oranges.
Well, it's got a little bit of orange tint in it. Come on.
Already.
All right. Well, welcome back, Matt.
Yeah, thanks.
So you're heading out to the airport right after this, huh?
Well, not right after 9:45, so it's a late flight.
Got some time.
It's going to be a long, it's almost 24 hours. I think it's going to be a long day.
Are you? Is it direct or where are you?
No, I'm flying from Shanghai to Seoul, and then in Seoul there's like an hour and a half layover, but the same flight number. So sometimes they put you into a holding pen,
Yeah.
and then they bring you back to your seat. It's just keep us on a plane, you know. At least you can play on the internet or something. And then from there, I'll fly from Seoul all the way to Paris, de Gallo. I want to say Pico de Gallo.
Charles
You're going to Mexico.
Yeah.
Charles de Gallo.
Yeah, Charles de Gallo.
Pico de Gallo.
Pico de Gallo. I'll be in Paris's Pico de Gallo airport. Sounds fantastic. Then I have like an 8-hour, 45-minute layover there.
Jeez.
So there's two separate flights. The one that has the layover and that little stint in Seoul, and then the other flight will leave and end up taking me from Paris to Detroit.
So your final destination is Detroit.
Yeah.
In the U.S.
DTW. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we didn't really get too much into this before you got here, so I'm pretty curious. Like, what is this? Are you just taking a trip back? Are you moving back for good? What's the deal here?
Well, there's a few things that have to be done, like housekeeping things that are left undone for me in the United States, and also I've had some unfortunate deaths in the family, which I think if you watch my channel, you've seen my grandpa, my grandma, my dad passed away, and so there is some like financial inheritance things that went back and forth, and IRAs and like all sorts of these kind of crazy. I am definitely afraid of taxes and stuff like that. I am all thumbs when it comes to remembering receipts and numbers and how things are entered and stuff. And I'd much rather just sit in front of a CPA in the area, you know, in Michigan and say, this is what I've got. This is what's going on. And, you know, I've got weird income. I've got YouTube income from Google. I've got Patreon income. I've got donations coming from certain places. It's not a lot of money. I mean, I'm like sort of poverty level if you look at the numbers from that. But it is not inconsequential. And with this inheritance, I just want to make sure I dot all my I's and cross all my T's.
Yeah,
for sure.
And
clean hands.
Yeah, clean hands.
They
hands,
don't make it
clean
easy
conscience.
for you, for sure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like, they
yeah,
don't
yeah.
make it easy for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. American tax system is, you know,
And it's changing
tangled web.
every year.
Yeah. One of the reasons I like China is things stay pretty constant for a long time, you know? Like, you have long-term plans. It's not like every 4 years somebody comes out with a new policy and then it shifts everything into, you know, chaos, you know?
It's like you have to pay the government, and then you've got to like prove line by line that you paid them correctly. I mean, literally, that's what it is. It's bullshit.
And you got to pay for all the things they want you to pay for. You know, it's like, I don't want to pay for missiles and, you know, bombing, you know, people in countries, you know, like we have no, it's like we are like literally like handcuffed to do the bidding of what the country wants to do. It's like, I always thought it would be interesting. It would never really work, but to have like your taxes have like a supplemental, and it has like 5 or 6 categories: education, military.
And you can choose.
And you could like, okay, 30% of your taxes go to the things that they have to fund. But like there's this like extra amount that they set aside. Where would you like the rest of your taxes to fund? And you could kind of mark that. That would be an amazing.
that would be
be
amazing.
really revelatory to people. I bet people would fund stuff that people don't think like.
Sounds a lot more like freedom to me. I mean, I don't know.
It sounds like it. I don't know. No country does that though. I mean, that would be a really, really interesting system.
Well, I think it would be just simply that we don't have to go that far, but just simply if you could see your tax dollars working for you, would be a game changer, right? And I think that's why so many people, especially in the States, are so disillusioned, because you don't see any improvement in the infrastructure. You don't see any improvement in Medicare. You don't see any improvement in all these kind of huge political topics that you would think the tax dollars are going to go and improve.
Yeah.
But instead, all you see is that money going
Performances.
into military, basically,
Yeah,
a military industrial complex,
Yeah.
basically,
It's crazy.
into the hands of politicians, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you have like private entities doing more for a lot of the social economic issues,
Yeah.
as opposed to government.
Well, that's the American way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but then these profit motive, like private prisons is crazy, like these kind of things. I don't want to, I would much rather have my tax dollars fund quality rehabilitative services to inmates to see if we could, like, I don't know, make them better people, instead of just having them be like, we need more of these products in our stores, because that's what it is. It's just it's a store called a prison, and the product is prisoners.
Yeah.
And so they go to the police stations and say, hey, could you give us, we need a delivery of bread. We need to stock our shelves with the commodity that we make money off of. It's really nuts.
Well, there's a big push by some for to kind of free all the people in prison for non-violent pot-related crimes, I guess, at the time. Because now it's legalized. It's fully legalized in the United States.
Imagine being behind bars right now.
Exactly.
And what you did is actually legal today, but wasn't that?
I would
nuts.
I don't know. I can't even imagine how you would feel. Like the frustration, the anger, the disappointment. I don't know. That's just so terrible. But that's a significant percentage of people behind bars.
I actually have a friend, and I'm not going to tell his story because it's not my place to tell it, but he's in prison right now. And he's one of the people I want to actually see when I go back. He was one of my best friends. And it was a crazy story, but he's in prison. Apparently, he had a dark side I did not know about that got him into a lot of trouble. And I want to send him messages of support. I mean, the guy did a horrible thing, but I'm still his friend, whatever. And, if you want to send him an email, it's like $5 just to send him an email.
Really?
If you want to send a picture to that email, it's like $10. The system for listen.
So everything's for profit.
If you're a prisoner, the only thing that you can, the thing that keeps you sane is your connection to the outer world, obviously, but if you make that so prohibitively expensive, okay, $5 isn't a lot, but let's say your son is in prison, you're going to send him an email every day, or you want to stay connected to him. That's a lot of money. And a lot of people in America don't have a lot of money, especially people that are in prison. I mean, their families, there's a lot of impoverished people that end up going to prison. And I sent him an email, a couple of emails, and I'm just like, man, they don't make it easy to try to help people, in this circumstance,
Well, and this, to your earlier point, you don't want to create a corporation for everything. If privatizing space travel, okay, because space travel is a good thing. But if something is not a positive, you don't actually want to create a corporation that will drive that. And so you basically created corporations of these prisons. Of course, they're going to charge for everything.
Right.
And it becomes a whole industry.
Yeah.
And the industry is actually bad. It's like cigarettes.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's for-profit industry, right? So they're looking at where can we make revenue in every
and
part.
How do I grow my business? And it's like, I want to grow.
Think about China and the trains. The trains are a loss, right? There is no profit motive, at least in the beginning stages, to build high-speed rail across the country.
Yeah.
It's just the contracts to bid it out. People are always trying. But China was like, we're going to build these trains, and however long it takes, we're going to improve the lives and build. I mean, once you have these arteries, these major arteries to cities that normally weren't able to have these sort of it's so funny. I end up talking about infrastructure like it's some sort of it's such a boring thing to say, infrastructure, but it's really, really amazing to see it develop China the way it has. Without the high-speed rail, you'd have people that wouldn't be able to broaden areas and bring them to where they are today. I think the high-speed rails are influential, very instrumental.
Well, America built highways, China built high-speed rails.
Right. But not everybody can afford a car.
Yeah.
But almost not everybody can afford a trip on a high-speed rail either, right? But there are economical. It's much more economical for somebody to commute on the high-speed rail.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
But there's no profit motive. So the American government, Chinese government's like, we're gonna build trains. That's it. Done. Who's going to do it? Oh, you guys? Okay, start going. But in America, it's like, how are we going to make money right away? And so these sorts of things that have a greater good don't get done because they're muddied in the water of profit, and instant profit, like that.
Yeah, and
infinite growth.
If everything is just the free for all where I'm only looking out for my own interests, then there's no one looking out for like the whole society's interest. And like infrastructure is like a terrible word because it's a really complicated word.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Infrastructure really is just the basic resources that you need for the operation of a society.
Yeah.
But if everything is broken up into silos, then no one's actually building the platform that enables everything
Yeah.
because they're just looking for that piece. So that's why you need government.
Well, government can get in the way, like in the U.S., right? So, like, if we were talking about like building a new bridge or redoing a new highway or whatever, these kind of or digging a tunnel, these things get stuck in so much red tape. But here, like, by the time you know about it, it's already done.
Mm.
Like, they don't really advertise. Like in China, they don't really advertise a lot of things they do. They just do it, and then they're like, "Here you go, it's done.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
yeah.
You
Use
know?
it. Use it. Yeah.
There's no bickering. There's no back and forth. There's no like chest pounding of like how we're gonna do this. It's just you just get it done. And it's like super efficient, right? But I wanna get to know like how are you feeling about going back?
Yeah. We're off topic. I'm a mixture of feelings, you know. I mean, okay, so you asked why am I going, you know, what's the reason? Now there's some housekeeping things like taxes and license and stuff and visiting my friend. But the underlying thing is that I about a decade ago, I decided that I didn't want to stagnate. I didn't want to stay still. That the world was my oyster and I wanted to slurp it up, you know. And it's so amazing, so many different sides to it and stuff. And I started sharing my life on YouTube, and people started to gain interest in it. And then all of a sudden, I found this like second level of like not only can I experience the world, but I can allow other people to experience the world through my experiences, you know. And I had loved making videos. It's like being an artist, but your palette is a moving picture, you know. And it can be whatever you want it to be, you know.
The world is your canvas.
The world is my canvas. And I love China. China's great, you know. For me, it's been great to me. It's not perfect. I always got to caveat that so that the people don't, you know.
So you're not working for them. You're not working for them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's funny because, okay, I've got a sidetrack here, but Lawa86, who, guys, if you don't know, there's two guys, Serpent ZA is Winston and Matt is Lawa86, and they're like my arch enemies, you could say, you know. Actually, really, really they're like Two-Face in Batman, because like I was friends with them, and then they fell into a vat of acid sometime, you know, and like became like, what happened to you? I'm not saying I'm Batman, but I'm Batman. But anyways, these guys, Lao86 made these. It has all these videos. It's always castigation of China. It's always this negative view. It's always. Even a good thing is twisted into a negative in order to fit the narrative. And I've always been like, what is your purpose? Now, I understand money, YouTube, algorithm, consistency. If you're a negative guy, if that's your thing, you keep going with it. But what do you want? Like, if you think China's broken, offer a solution to fix it. It's just like, blah, 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 blame. Well, in a recent video, he said, somebody, because they do a Q&A, because they do a podcast, and they did a Q&A, and somebody asked the question and said, how do you see regime change happening in China? Now, that's a really important question for these guys because, like, they don't see China improving without regime change, right? That's the only way that they see China becoming a better place, right? They think it's shitty now, regime change.
And one question, maybe you don't have to answer it immediately, is like, what do they consider improvement? Right, like what is
right? That's a whole unanswered question.
Right.
But I don't even think they're
democracy. Maybe democracy. I don't know. Like
I don't
America?
even think. But I don't even think they're genuinely thinking that way. I think they're clearly. It's obvious they're doing this just to target a specific demographic on YouTube that they know wants to hear this.
Salivates for it.
But is it really just money, or are there people behind them that are driving this too?
Well, their narrative is very, very in line with other people who have anti-China bias narratives that have a relationship with the mainland and that want to see, you know, certain things happen there that are negative, you know.
Maybe they're getting more money from those guys than the actual platforms.
Well, I know. Listen, I during the pandemic, I made a lot of money from my YouTube channel. And I'm not saying, okay, listen, guys, I got to caveat this. I do not make a lot of money from YouTube. I made much more money
Than previous.
on my company that I gave up in order to tell stories and travel around the world. So for all of you guys that think, I'm going on this
This is a
CCP
cash cow
trip
for you.
because it's just going to make me the richest man I could ever. No, listen, I had a lot of opportunities I gave up in order to take a step down financially because it was a more step up from a spiritual or personal,
So you made more money doing the travel stuff.
No, my
Before that,
trading company.
before that.
Oh, your trading
my
company.
businesses.
Right.
Yeah, in the last episode, you went into that.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't have a financial incentive. It's not like crazy money, but I did have a step up in my income from YouTube in the middle of the pandemic because people were interested in that topic. I was sort of
Well,
pro-China
keywords
voice.
like China, like things like
Those
that.
are big.
Yeah.
COVID.
So I could empathize with Winston and Matt that might had that kind of like they tapped into the vein of hate and bigotry regarding China, and hate and bigotry in general is big.
Yeah.
Just in general, whatever you're going to hate, people love to,
Well, negativity in general.
Well,
nobody
negative
seems to
videos
like love anymore.
do much better than positive videos.
Yeah,
That's
right.
been proven
right.
over and over again.
Yeah. If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
Anyways, they were asked this question: what would happen with how could we change the regime in China? And when you understand that question that is their purpose. Granted to make money, and who knows what their underlying purpose is, but superficially, that's the way that they make videos. It's all, how do we get what's happening in China off? It doesn't matter what they replace it with, but whatever's happening there has got to stop because it's the worst dystopian wasteland, hellscape, blah, blah, blah. Well, Matt said, well, I've said it numerous times. The only thing that's going to change China is economic collapse or, what was the other one? Economic collapse or devastation. Now, he has family in China. Like, he has, in-laws in China. So does Winston. Basically, what he said is that I'm hoping for economic collapse or devastation. And the reason I brought this up, to bring it back to what we originally said, is that I made a video about me critiquing their video.
Yeah.
And I was like, economic collapse and devastation, economic collapse and devastation. That's all they want, economic collapse and devastation. If you watch your videos, think in your mind, this video is catered to the desire for China's economic collapse and devastation. There's no middle ground. There's no, hey, we'd like China to, I'd like, Xi Jinping to step down and maybe have a new person in there with a different vision, or go back to Deng Xiaoping, or there's none of that. Economic collapse or devastation. And when I heard that, I'm like, wow, Matt, your channel makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, it just all kind of comes together now.
Yeah, you can't talk about anything positive in today's China because that would not be supporting economic collapse or devastation. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
It's like Thanos, right? Like,
Yeah.
until half the people, it's
Yeah,
seriously
that's it.
fucking because that's how some people think. It's like they want things to break, and they think
Yeah.
the only way change happens is through breaking something,
Yeah.
rather than like improving it.
a lot of Americans feel that way right now. Like, the system's broken. Let's just burn it to the ground.
Raise the country.
Raise it to the ground, And so somebody on Twitter took because apparently they made, which is kind of humbling, they made a supercut of me saying economic collapse, devastation without
really?
any context. It was
Really?
just like,
It
it
became
was
a
like
meme.
the China,
Yeah,
China,
China.
the Trump China.
yeah.
But it was economic collapse and devastation. It was just over and over and over and over. Somebody posted it on Twitter, and Matt was like, what the hell is he talking about? Lau86 actually commented on the tweet. I'm like, do you realize that what you're tweeting is the horrible thing that you want? Whatever. It's just an interesting perspective of that whole thing. Anyways, what the hell was I talking about? I was talking
I don't
about
even know.
Well,
but,
okay.
but I don't even think they care for the change. I think it's just a talking point for them.
Right.
I don't think they actually even give a shit.
But I do
They don't- really
think
don't give a
that's
shit.
their theme.
That's their theme, but they don't truly care
China's
about-
economic collapse and China's devastation. Devastation. Like the way that they painted the floods, This is the CCP did this. This is why we need, this is the devastation they're looking for. Like if the dam for the Three Gorges was to, I mean, I've been there. That thing is, you'd need a nuclear weapon to break that dam, right? It might leak through a crack or something.
You would need Thanos.
You
to
would
break
need
that.
Thanos to just snap that thing out of existence. If it was snapped out of existence, you're talking hundreds of millions of people dead. Like it's a beyond, and that would be a suitable devastation to change the regime in China. So, Matt, is that what you're looking for? I hope your in-laws aren't living in the major swath of populated land in front of the Three Gorges Dam. It's just a gross thing to think. There's a million other solutions for China rather than economic collapse and devastation. If you think what now is broken,
There's
Anyways.
got to be something deeper,
Well, I think in general, people like Lawai86 or Servant ZA or any other YouTuber, anybody who has a voice, I think you just have to kind of question anything anybody says. Actually, anybody, including you.
Yeah.
Matt, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have to question. Like number one is judge a character, right? So you got to see what is their character.
Yeah.
Right. You can tell by what they say, how they speak. What is their character? That says a lot. It's not about what they do. It's actually who are they.
Yeah.
Second is motive, right? Then if you break down the motives of why or what kind of content they're putting out there, then I feel like you have to question, right? Because the motives are quite clear in terms of let's just go with what you're saying with destruction, economic collapse and devastation. If that was the motive, then I would question everything that comes out because everything has to be about
that.
Yeah.
That's what I was like. Look through the lens of economic collapse and devastation anytime you watch
because
our videos.
if the context of what you're saying seems kind of far fetched, but they're so confident in putting out that message,
delivery.
you have to question.
And I mean, it's a great point, Howie. Like, it's the consistency. It's the consistency of what they're doing that then leads you to kind of ask, okay, so why are you doing this? What's the motive? And then who else is behind this?
Yeah.
And not that it matters, right?
I don't think it matters as much
shit.
as who is
no,
behind.
No, who's
though,
behind
right?
this is really important because one person, unless you're like Jesus Christ, like what one person comes up with their own sort of whole thing.
Yeah.
There's always other people connected to this.
Well, I mean, Matt just put out a video by VOA, Voice of America. I mean, that VOA was the ultimate propaganda engine to drive the Vietnam
They're
War
working
and
for
all of these.
someone.
I think that's
How big
It's
is
obvious.
VOA?
VOA's huge. Well, how big is VOA? Well, how big it was maybe 5 years ago, and how big is it now? America has invested $300 million in propaganda against the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah.
It's on the dock. It's on there.
It's actually out there.
It's actually
you can
a
look it up.
written thing. We have to prevent the Belt and Road Initiative because we have a better Belt and Road. Like Biden's like, we're going to do the Belt and Improvement Initiative.
It's like we're gonna spend $2 billion on tanks. We're gonna spend $3 billion on this propaganda against China.
We can't build trains in our own country, but we're gonna, we're gonna
It's
be
on their list.
Yeah. To your point, Howie, you were saying like the way they're so confident. One of the things that I think does me a disservice in my videos is I often say I'm not an expert. I'm willing to change my mind. Like this flooding that happened in JaYoe, and the flooding that happened recently in Ningbo, and here in Shanghai, and we have Ningbo's a pretty big city. It's growing like crazy. I live in the new part of town. It's called Yinzhou. And then there's Haishu, which is the other district on the other side. Haishu's old, Yinzhou's new. My district was dry as a bone after the firework. It's called Firework, right? The tsunami name was Firework.
Oh yeah.
Not tsunami. The typhoon's name was Firework.
The translation. Yeah.
Firework. It's a weird name for a typhoon. Anyways, it came over, dropped a lot of rain. It was predicted to drop a lot more rain, which was thankful it didn't do what we thought it was. Actually, it came and hit Shanghai more than it hit us because it kind of swung around. But I went out with the camera, did a live stream, which was my first
I saw a video
live stream in like
you
forever.
were like waist deep in water, pulling a kayak or something.
Yeah.
A man on a kayak.
It was fun. And
So that was in Ningbo.
That was in Ningbo.
Okay.
And that was in Haishu. I started the video in Haishu because that was a flooded area. And then I went to Yinzhou, which was a dry area. And I was trying to tell stories and say, listen, this isn't... You can't, like for example, JaYoe. JaYoe, the rainfall in JaYoe was like 642 millimeters. It was like 24 inches of rain in 24 hours. Not even severe. It was unprecedented. Unprecedented is a powerful word. It's literally never, ever recorded that much rain. So how is the system designed to clear off that rain as it's falling, right? So, of course, there was flooding, there was tragedy, there was lost lives, maybe.
Well, the region also wasn't historically used to getting a lot of rain.
Exactly.
either.
Unprecedented.
Yeah.
It was unprecedented. It was built for what that place is probably. They built it for like the severe level of flooding. It was beyond severe.
Well, there's a very conventional example of this kind of stuff. And so, for instance, if you're in Thailand or Southeast Asia, the cooling systems during the summer are extremely robust. I've been to these places, right? And it's like freaking cold everywhere in Singapore.
Yeah.
There are places in the U.S. where I lived in California that did not actually have cooling systems in the summer. So there would be, like in New York, California, there'd be a couple of weeks of the year where, like, I mean, you had to open all the windows, otherwise you might die.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then conversely, I've lived in the north as well. The heating systems in the north are extremely robust. I've been to like Xinjiang, Harbin, all these places.
Yeah, Beijing.
And so you're never like, people are like in their shorts. Like every building, I used to go on business trips and I would be hot all the time. And then, in Shanghai, it's freezing. And so like all of the infrastructure is designed to solve for the norm. Obviously.
Yeah. Well, Texas had that
the
freeze,
winter,
right?
with the winter storm.
I mean, they weren't prepared for that.
Yeah.
And they were like, they decided that their grid was going to be separate from the rest. There was a whole litany of problems
and I'm from
with
Texas too, and so my
Yeah.
brother went through that whole shit.
Yeah.
They had a 1.5-year-old daughter, and they had to actually go elsewhere than their own place. So it's totally understandable.
And when it happens, like when you're in the middle, like, and then political things happen. It's like, you're not going to blame the entire American government for a disaster here and there. I mean, obviously we can make some changes and put some pushes, but it seems like the narrative against China is more blatant. It's more broad.
Or it's always uniquely terrible
It's
when
uniquely
it's
terrible.
about
It's
China.
uniquely
right?
terrible.
It's like somehow uniquely terrible.
But like Zhengzhou, the flooding was horrible. But like I saw videos of Zhengzhou the next day. It was dry because the system was designed to push the water in away from the city, and those systems worked, but they didn't work when there was 24 inches of rain falling on the city. Now to tie this together, I went to Haishu, and I was walking around the factory district. There was a lot of water. There was a lot of people complaining, angry people. I finished the live stream, and then later the next day the water was still there, and now we're doing 3 days afterwards. And I'm not against complaining about things here in China, but you got to give the benefit of time. Like, okay, Haishu wasn't dry as a bone the next day, and it's the oldest district in Ningbo. Okay, well, hopefully it gets better. But 3 or 4 days later, if there's still water, what the hell is the problem here? Come on, guys, let's get it together,
Yeah.
But like, it's like if it bleeds, it leads. Like Winston and Matt's narrative is let's get a video out right now while everybody's stuck in these subway tunnels and dying.
Well, let's take a snapshot of history.
Yeah.
And just kind of comment and judge based on a snapshot.
Yeah,
photo.
broadly judge.
Yeah.
Like Zhengzhou's in the middle of a fucking tragedy, and you're out there, capitalizing on it by castigating the whole government when unprecedented rain fell on the area, never ever been planned for.
There's been all kinds of natural disasters in the U.S., like with Katrina, and just like there's.
Well, we did a whole episode about it with Dr.
Lemoy.
Yeah.
It's easy to cherry pick, but I think overall, if you look at the number of examples, like then you just got to look at the data.
Yeah,
you got to look at the population of a country, how often these things happen, et cetera, et cetera. But I think COVID is the big one, right? How did different countries and we shouldn't even make it about specific countries. Let's be very objective about it and say that every country went through COVID. And different places took different measures. And how did that all end up?
Yeah.
Just look at the case counts.
Boom.
Yeah. But you going back to the States, Matt, you know what's coming, right? Does that need to be said? Does it need to be said that your critics and your haters are gonna jump all over this opportunity?
Oh my God, the conspiracy theories
gonna be
that
like,
are gonna abound.
see, like you're so pro-China, now you're going back to the U.S.
You got kicked out,
or what kind of hypocrite you might come off as in their eyes, right? Like,
I have been thinking about that a lot.
You're facing a firestorm of hate and criticism. You understand this, right?
Yeah.
So. How are you going to deal with that?
Well, first of all, I talked to some of my American friends that are over there, and they're like, Matt, when you live in the social media sphere, sometimes the pulse you get of a place is not the real pulse. It's the exaggerated pulse because,
I would say oftentimes. It's
oftentimes, because when you really boil it down, it's like, I don't know, even 100 fucking idiots that are screaming at you, "You're a commie," and when you come, but really in the whole grand scheme of the thing, it's not a lot of people. And my friends are like, "Matt, you're overdoing it." But on the other hand, I had a guy who commented on one of my videos that said, if you come into San Diego, the Border Protection Controls are going to meet you with rifles, and they're going to kick you out unless you're not American anymore, in which case, like he was thinking I gave up my citizenship or something. And his name was Steve Wozniak or something. And somebody searched him, like it wasn't me, but I saw the comment, and somebody... one of my Umao friends, who aren't Umaos, they just really like China. I'm sorry. I don't believe both sides. I don't. I'm sure that there's algorithm pushing, and I'm sure that there's investment in sort of like boosting people's numbers that
It's
you
just
want
easy
exposure.
to call that.
But it's so easy, right? If you're pro-China, you're an Umao or whatever. Anyways, one of my good friends who's pretty, he's searched. He lives in America. Oh, sorry, I'm tapping and
You're very animated.
I'm very animated.
We're passionate. But this is a very passionate topic.
I'm drinking. So he searched this guy. He's actually a Homeland Border Protection guy in San Diego.
Really?
Like he's actually a human being. I thought, yeah, you come to Texas, we'll beat you up, But like literally, his threat was backed up with real facts. I'm like,
that's so
first
terrible
of all,
to hear.
that's illegal, right?
Yeah.
If you work for the Border Protection Bureau, you can't be threatening people. Even if I was under investigation, you don't announce it in the comment section of my videos, like that's not enough. You're not really savvy. And second of all, that's just wrong, like
that's so disappointing.
America's brought up on free speech, for Christ's sake. I'm just speaking freely,
No, because yeah, it's so disappointing because usually I would think like they're kind of like the fringe kind of
goofballs,
nutheads, right? Like, and you don't really need to pay too much attention. You're telling me this guy is actually working in the Border Patrol, is it?
Customs and Border Protection. So he's,
and he's an officer there?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's
I mean,
so
if I
scary.
got in the airport and some guy's patting me down, he's like, that's Matt. That's JaYoe Mata. Obviously, I don't think he knows my Chinese screen name, but
imagine if he did. That'd be so funny.
Yeah. I'm subscribed
like,
to your doing,
motherfucker.
I got your toe towel. But I am worried about it, partly because I'm not flying back to California. I'm not flying back to a fairly, like progressive mindset. I'm flying back to Michigan. A lot of the people, especially that started watching me originally as I was just a travel vlogger and very ambiguous about my leanings as far as my ideas about ideology. These people were led the right winger kind of, Trumpian crew. And so Michigan's I think it flipped blue, right? Michigan voted
Michigan
blue,
did.
but it was
a
on
big
the cusp.
surprise.
It was a big surprise. There's a lot of red in Michigan.
Historically, it's been very red.
Historically. So I'm sort of nervous about going to my old watering hole, that I used to go to because I live in the same city my family lives in the same city I grew up in since I was a child. So I'm curious.
Well, do you expect people to confront you?
I don't know. I don't know if they'll recognize me. Sometimes you don't. Look at somebody online and I'm not going to wear my JaYoe fishing cap. I'm sure that,
I got a nice red and yellow hat that you could wear.
Yeah. Okay.
But how many people you think back there are really invested in this whole kind of U.S.-China dynamic?
That's what I mean is that I'm in this social media sphere where everybody is in that. Like everybody that comments on my video is part of that. And listen, the network, it's maybe 1 million people, but there's like 350 million people in America.
Yeah.
So it's really not, not that
I think it's
pronounced.
like what you said. Maybe what you said is you're living in the social media circle, right? And it's almost like its own little bubble, right?
Yeah.
I'm almost relating to the whole. This might be a little bit controversial for me to say, but the Asian hate crime and stuff like that happening in America, and obviously, if you're following it, you just feel like, wow, it's like every day, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
like I would have conversations with my wife, like, you don't want to go to America, you're gonna get fucked. We're gonna get
that's
fucked
a
up.
hellscape.
Like, no, we're not going to America. But then, like, and then I'll talk to a couple of my Asian friends in America and be like, yo, how bad is it? Let me know. And they're like, no, it's fine. Like, I didn't find anything. You know, it's fine. So I think it's just literally, it's the bubbles that you're in. It's just pockets.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
you know what?
That
That kind of is illuminating to our own, you know, like it kind of, I was thinking about this, like the Chinese system of regulated information flow. It's designed for the current landscape that the world's in right now. There's so much freedom of information. We can find out anything from the negative to the positive to the conspiracy to the cockamamie. And like the American form of democracy was really, really well suited like 30 years ago before the internet. Well, there wasn't 24-hour news cycle. Your news came out at 6 p.m. before bed. You watched it for 45 minutes and everybody went to bed. And they talked about the meaty issues, the really meaty issues, war here, this going on here, local news, weather, and then it was it. But as soon as internet became more prevalent and people had to clamor for new sources of well, we got 24 hours to fill. Let's talk about how bad socialism is in a 5-part series, and you know, let's hit this and hit that. Now, I'm not saying that there hasn't always been propaganda, but I feel like China's limiting of information to the masses is this might be a controversial thing to say, and I've thought about it a lot in my head. I'm trying to say, am I really looking at this issue good enough? And that's another thing. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but maybe I could put it up to here. I kind of feel like the way China's doing it is they're making sure that anti-masker, anti-vaccine, the crazy conspiracy theories don't go mainstream. And so that was one of the reasons they were able to come through the pandemic so much, is because they made sure, like when the leading doctor said, you got to wear your masks, everybody's like, got to wear our masks. There was no, I mean, obviously, I'm sure there were some people that were like, no, but those no's didn't get mainstream. They certainly weren't spoken in Congress. You know, just recently at the January 6th commission, there was not January 6th, but they were in Congress during now, like yesterday. I just watched a video of a guy like, this ain't China. They ain't forcing us to wear our masks. I'm like, how hard is it to wear them?
That's
just
true.
Wear a
It is in
mask?
China.
It is in China, you know. And I'm thinking about like how American democracy right now is sort of faltering. I see it faltering, you know. And I'm interested in going to America so that maybe I can get outside my bubble I'm in, and like
I'm sure once you're there, you're gonna have a fresh perspective.
Yeah, I feel like we need to like we'll let you be there for like a month or so, and we hop on a Zoom and like let's just talk about this again.
Follow up.
You know what I mean? A follow. You're like,
yeah.
okay, now I was been here for a little bit of time. This is what
China
happens.
sucks. Down with CCB.
And Matt's like, I don't want to talk to you guys ever again.
You guys, I can't believe I talked to you guys. Socialism sucks.
No. Next time we see a live stream, he's gonna be with Lawai86 and Sermon C8 sitting with them.
Yeah.
Just agreeing with them, like, yeah, they're gonna be best buds.
Yeah, voice of America. I'm the voice of America.
You got some of that 300 mil. No longer the poverty line.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting point, right? And you were saying, like, how do you frame it? But it's more like asking questions and saying, okay, well, we know that there's a lot of conversations around Facebook and Twitter, and what controls need to be put on it. And so it's a spectrum, because you can have, like, you know, North Korea on one end, and maybe that's probably not, I don't think anyone wants to really live there. And then you might have, a situation where information, the cost of distributing wrong information, or the possibility, or the risk of having hackers distribute and disseminate, very volatile negative information is so high now. It's like a virus, and so like your computer,
it's an epidemic of information, of misinformation.
So it's like your computer kind of needs like antivirus software.
Yeah.
In a
great
way.
wall.
And
great
right now,
wall.
like America doesn't have antivirus software for its communications, and people are bringing, even in America, the Congress, they're bringing this up. Like, should there be more control? Should Twitter or Facebook play a more active role in building in antivirus software? And I think the point you're making is that in China, they have put an antivirus system in that seems to be, in some ways, working from that perspective.
Yeah, it's a super, super nuanced issue, right? I think we can all agree on that. And the whole kind of topic of the control of public information and media, I mean, It's I think to me it's about collateral damage. Like at what cost, right? So on one hand, we can see a lot of clear positives and benefits of the control of information here in terms of public safety, public information, things like that. But I mean, of course, there is collateral damage, right? At what cost is it doing? And I don't know one way or the other, but it's a very nuanced issue, and it is an epidemic. It is like a viral infection because like right now in the States, right now today, you have pretty much almost half the population who are basically anti-vaxxers now.
Yeah.
Because
That used to be fringe.
because they are literally afraid of the vaccine
Yeah.
because they think that it's either a hoax or there's some bad actors behind it.
You're gonna become a
there's some
magnet.
political agenda. I mean, there's a whole array of different conspiracy theories behind why people aren't taking the vaccine.
Listen, if you get a variant that is even just 10% worse than COVID is now, like the Delta,
the R ratio,
Yeah.
or whatever.
but the R naught, yeah,
The R naught.
but is vaccine resistant. Could you imagine America going through all this craziness and conspiracy and being like, hey guys, we got another 5 years or a year worth of vaccine development because now we are back to square one. This civil war. I don't know what would happen because the anti-vaxxers
wanna
and the right wing would be like, this is just another control. China would be like, lock down the borders again. Let's go back to, like they have all the things in place here in China to deal with whatever comes their way.
They know the measures, the protocols.
Yeah, there would be nobody going into China for a long time.
Yeah.
Well,
they would just bubble themselves off.
In here in China, the government and the people are unanimously taking it
United.
seriously.
Yeah.
Whereas in the
There's like
States,
no question almost.
Yeah, whereas in the States you have
just do
like
it.
half the people taking it seriously and half the people not,
yeah.
which defeats
Like the
which
people
doesn't do
not
anything.
taking, even a small fringe of people not taking it seriously are 1,000
Ruins
times
it.
louder
Yeah.
than the normal people.
let's
I'm
Yeah,
not
go to
like-
my
I'm
comment
not-
section. You'll hear
I'm not
about the loud
screaming that
minority.
I got my vaccine.
Let's just give a quick example. So like recently in China, you have Nanjing, right? There's like a little bit of a local spread. Now, a local spread here that got headline news is like
single
10,
digits.
yeah.
well, double
Oh, it was-
digits.
yeah, it was double digits. Yeah, yeah.
Double
Almost
digits.
100.
But last time there was like 6 people and that
No,
made
but
news.
after
Like,
a week,
people,
no, but after a week,
It's
it's like
gotten pretty
100
bad.
something,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So it's like 100 something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that, right? Now that caused Shanghai, which is like a trip from New York City to Boston kind of distance, right? To all of a sudden, everyone, like my coworkers, people around me, be like, okay, start wearing your mask a little bit more. Like, let's be a little bit more stringent about it. You know what I mean? Like that type of conversation. And everyone was commenting. There's never like, oh, fuck. Like, oh, goddamn, we got to wear masks more. You know, oh, goddamn, why is this happening? No, it's more like, okay, let's be more protective. Let's be more careful, and stuff like that, which is a perfect example of the mentality that is here, as opposed to there.
and that's from 100 people.
And that's for 100 people. And it's like just 100. And then everyone is like, oh my God, we got to lock this down.
100 in the States couldn't even make the news. Not even the back page.
No, the 100 won't even do shit in a town.
Am I right?
71,231 on July 29th. 71,231.
God dang. I want to get the vaccine. In China, you don't really need it until you need it. Like there's no virus here. Like you said, there's 70,000 infected people today. You need a vaccine. But in China, there's 100 in Nanjing. Oh, we got to test the whole thing, So there's controls here. And Ningbo hasn't had a case like ever, pretty much. It's been
But
pretty
here's the
good.
thing: is like you say that to the people in America, they're like, "That's what you know."
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
only what they're telling you.
That's only what they're telling
How
you.
can you trust those
Winston had a
numbers?
video that said doctors are being paid to take old people that come in with COVID and lock them in the storage closet until they either die or whatever. And I'm like, we literally get messages on our phone. We know shit. It's almost like TMZ. Because there was like a guy that got infected in Guangdong or something and messed around with a couple of prostitutes and like shit, I knew his whole story. Like his
Yeah, you
wife
do,
knew
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
everywhere. It's like
Oh,
TMZ.
they shame you. They shame
They
you.
shame you, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Public shame.
They
Yeah.
know. We know everything.
Yeah.
You didn't hide. You hide things, and you get problems like what's going on in other countries. You literally, the system
it's
they
open.
have cannot hide. You can't hide the things.
Yeah.
Honesty is what prevents the virus from spreading. Anyways, as far as a vaccine, the Sinovac and all of the different. Are you guys all vaccinated?
No.
I am.
Yeah, Sinopharm.
Yellow code.
I'm vaccinated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to
Dose.
dose. I want to get the vaccine.
This guy's an anti-vaxxer.
You bastard. So my friend went to the United States, and his name is Jim. He's a photographer. He has that big funny camera that I think we talked about in the last episode, and he traveled to Iceland. Because once you're in America, that's like we're slowly getting into the reason why I'm going back to America, because that was the primary focus of this. But once I'm out, like China is protected in its alienation, in its robust controls. So if you're inside China and you stay in China, it's a very, very comfortable life. But if your desire has any sort of travel in it to get outside of the country, once you're out, you're out. It's like that club. When you walk out of the club, that you don't get no hand stamp. You're not coming back.
You're out. You're out.
Well, you can come back. You just got to
gotta-
quarantine, and unless you're you have to have a certain
and
visa.
you got to pay a huge ticket, and they said that it's not.
It's not impossible.
It's not
But it's not
convenient.
that. It's not
It's just
that,
not
that
convenient.
draconian. I mean, you can get back. That's
Yeah.
the thing, right? It's not.
Right,
it's not like to the point where it's like, okay, the Truman Show or something like that.
Yeah. But once you get to America, it is easier to travel around. My friend Matt, the backpacker that visited me in Nepal, we did the caving expedition in Vietnam. He lives in Vegas. I'm going to move in with him. We were talking about what my plan is when I come back to the States. But he wants to go to Egypt. This is kind of how the whole thing came about. He called me a few months back and he said, "Matt, how's it going?" I said, we're good friends. And he said, "I'm going to Egypt." I was like, "You could fly to Egypt?" He's like, "Yeah, Egypt's open for business. There's a few countries that are open for business. Egypt's one of them." Now, he wants to see the new Cairo Museum, which is supposed to be one of the most fantastic, amazing museums in the world.
I'm dying to go to Egypt.
Yeah. This museum is supposed to be
Get
like
your shots first, buddy.
it's supposed to be the most world-renowned museum ever. And that's saying something, because my friend Matt is a raw dog backpacker. He's not interested in, like me, I'm not really interested in museums most of the time, unless it's like something really spectacular. So when Matt said, "I want to go to this museum," it perked my interest in it. It's like shows the pharaohs and it's right adjacent to the pyramids. It's really
That's
amazing.
such an interesting history, Egyptian history.
The other thing he wants to do is a live aboard scuba diving trip on the Red Sea.
Ooh.
And I'm like, man, that would be awesome. But if I go out of China, it's just going to be how am I going to get back, So he's like, just, if you want to come, you're more than welcome. He wasn't pushing me or anything. But I was like thinking, what options are available to me here in China? Which are a lot. They're numerous. But what options are to me outside? And there are a lot of options that aren't available to me here that are available to me
just in the
outside.
context of travel. You're
Just
talking
in the
about?
context of travel and moving around, and the risk and the reward. If I didn't have the desire to travel, I'd stay in China. Because you can actually travel and satiate a.
Well, you can travel within China.
I've been traveling around China a
But
lot.
as a
That's a whole
base,
separate
as a
thing.
base,
But as
it's
a
a
base.
little bit like for now.
Yeah.
In a couple of years it'll be fine.
Yeah. So my other friend Jim went to Iceland. And so Iceland's on the table now, which on my world tour cycle map, Iceland was sort of an out of the way place. If I could hit Iceland and check it off, maybe I could start checking things off instead of just biding my time in China. Because my world cycle tour was not about living in China. It was about traveling around the world. So he has this Chinese vaccine to bring it back around. And so when he went to Iceland, he's like, it was hours sitting with the authorities in Iceland trying to get them to understand what the green QR code with a yellow ring around it means, and what all of that means, because it was all Chinese. So he's like, it's best if you go to America, and as soon as you get to America, you pick your vaccine, pick your cocktail, and get set up with one of the Americans. Because once you get into America,
And God knows they're available.
God
at this
knows they're
point.
available. People are rejecting. People don't even want them. I'll be like,
They're piling up.
give them.
So how many shots have you gotten?
2. So is this a competition? Are you competing?
No, I just think the funny thing is like how he's talking so
Howie,
much shit.
Why are you
and he
not
does it,
vaccinated, brother?
That's the problem. Like all these people
Howie
in
is
the
the
U.S.
problem.
I'm the problem.
all these
with
people
society.
in the U.S. talking shit,
You're the
whatever, and
problem
they don't
with
give it.
China right now,
right?
bro.
But if it's like, and he's like, oh no, your actions don't matter. It's your words. No, your fucking actions matter.
High five. Eric.
Oh,
Always leave it to Eric to get on my ass.
Why haven't you taken the shot
Yeah.
yet?
I have my reasons.
okay.
It's called I'm an anti-vaxxer.
So the U.S. is going to be kind of like a headquarter base for you while you travel the world.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's get back to that. So I'm going to go to America. I'm going to go direct to Detroit, be with my family. I'm going to get my taxes all situated and get my license renewed. I have a Chinese driver's license, which is pretty useful. You can use it to drive around the States, even if you don't have an American driver's license, which I just figured out. I'm going to buy a vehicle.
What kind?
I'm going to get an SUV. I want to be able to sleep in it.
Oh, nice.
You know, like
Get a little Winnebago.
I don't want something so. You know what? Like, one of the problems with my life is it's so uncertain. If I knew that I was going to stay in America for 10 years,
Get an RV.
I would do van life. Have you guys gone on YouTube and seen van life?
I saw Nomad Land.
So cool. My
Yeah,
God.
Nomad Land was about van life.
You can get
So
like
cool.
a conversion van, not a Winnebago, something really inconspicuous. It looks like a plumber or something, and you could put a bed and a
Yes,
shower
so
and
cool.
Really,
No,
really
Howie,
cool.
Howie and I have been talking about this.
I love that shit.
We have a fantasy of buying a legit RV and just decking it out and just like being mobile and just traveling
it.
the world.
So
traveling.
cool.
Yeah. Oh god.
Well, I don't have the time. Like that's like at least a 5 or 10 year thing. You know, I don't see myself staying in America for that period of time at all. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at about a year.
Oh really?
Or less than, because what I want to do is I want to get to Detroit. I want to get a vehicle used, whatever, something I can resell for about the price I paid for it, something like that. Which sucks because right now used cars in America are freaking. Do you know about that, Eric? Right now, because chips, people can't get the microchips because of. I think it has to do with China. I think it all is linked. They can't get the microchips to build the new cars, so the used car market is blowing up. And so right now the cost of used cars are like
Really?
which sucks. It's like perfect for me to go home and pay too much for a fucking used car. Anyways, an SUV, something I can lay down the back seats and lay in and sleep in if I want to. Put a rack on the top. I'm already talking to Kuala Lumpur where my trike is. I'm riding around the world, cycling with this kind of three-wheeled cycle, human-powered cycle. Now, my world tour was supposed to be from Ningbo, China, all the way to the United States through a serendipitous, like zigzagging route. What's going to happen is I'm going to reverse it. And I'm going to start from the tip of Alaska towards the Bering Strait or the tip of Alaska as far north as possible next summer, spring, whenever you can get up there. I'm sure
When there's
spring's
light.
cold. Yeah. When the lights turn on. And then start from there, sell the truck, this is my preliminary plan, sell everything. And then start the tour, but in reverse. Because I know America and Canada relations will probably stabilize before, Singapore and Australia or, Indonesia and Australia. I see that area being frustrating. But if I can start in America, I don't need a visa. So I can spend as much time as I want dilly-dallying around. So I'll start in Alaska, ride through Canada into United States, zigzag around in my trike, work my way into Mexico and going down to South America. And and then eventually finding my way to meet myself in Kuala Lumpur and find out, like it might be an interesting way to retool the story because otherwise, I don't know. I just feel like the world ain't going to be conducive to cross-border, land border travel.
You got to start where it's easy to get around if you have a vaccine.
If I have a vaccine.
Because it's kind of crazy, right? Like some places are really controlled and like they're very safe within, and you don't need the vaccine.
Yeah.
But then there's some places where it's like everything's a free for all. But if you do have the vaccine,
it'll at
then
least
you can
dampen the effects.
So how long do you think this is gonna take? Like how long are you willing to be on the road?
Oh, well, my world tour has always been a decade or 2 decades, 15 years. That was the original intention, was to take 15 years and travel.
What do you get out of being on the road, like constantly on the move and traveling? Like I never really asked you that, right? Like, but like, what do you get out of it?
I had a trading company. And so you have all of this stress involved in this project. And at the very end, hopefully you come out with some profit on the other side. And it takes 6 months to feel that gratification. And once you get the system down, it's the same system every time. You're dealing with shitty factories, you're dealing with angry customers. You're dealing with shitty factory, you're dealing with angry customers. When you're on the road, every day is something new. You're meeting new people, new stories, new inspiration. But it's a little bit like it's a story that wraps itself into every day. You wake up in the morning as a vlogger. You figure out the story you're going to tell. You get on the road. You're in a certain country with a certain vibe. Next month, you're in another country with another vibe. And every day you finish. Doesn't take 6 months. It doesn't take a year. You're not dealing with contracts and stuff. Every day I would finish the day's story. And it was so fulfilling because at the end of the day, you're like, I'm proud of myself. I did 160 kilometers. I did 100 kilometers. I did whatever you did. You ended that story. And you know what you did the next day? You woke up and you did the next story. And then every day was an amazing story that you told. And so many people get stuck in this rat race and they do the same fucking loop over and over and over.
Like Groundhog Day phobia.
Exactly.
Right? You don't want to keep repeating the same day.
And what that taught me was that so you have this, you sort of do Groundhog Day, right? I'm not saying that it's not, because you do wake up, you travel, and then you finish. So there is this thing, but it exists in different countries and different locations with different characters and different every single day, and it's so fulfilling, you know? And plus, I was working trading company for a long time. I've been a business owner. I've had a lot of stresses, and I lost everything. I've had wins and losses, and what does that get you at the end of the day? When you're like 90 years old, you're sitting on your deathbed. What are you passing on? What stories are you telling, you know? Especially on YouTube, when I started telling stories, people are like, you inspired me to do this. Like, I feel like the life that I have here, the opportunity that I have to travel around the world, first of all, it's not for everybody. Not everybody can do it, right? Not everybody has the stomach.
The world's not set up for everybody to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Just, I want to live my life. You know, I want to have meaning. I want to be able to tell stories that help people. And I also want to live a fulfilling life myself. And I also, like my daughter, like I gave her a hug before I left today, you know, and she didn't know when she's going to see her dad again. You know, I love my daughter. She is a sweetheart. As a matter of fact, she watches so many of my videos. She's like, Daddy, I'm going to make videos and I'm going to send them to you. And then you can include them in your vlogs.
That's sweet.
And then I'll do like a little Eva's Corner, you know, where
so
you know, which is cute. And I don't know if she's being too strong inside, but you know, she didn't shed a tear. But I feel like she's like her mom, like a tiger mom, you know, like super strong. And I'm very heartbroken to distance myself from her. But we live in a day and an age where we chat and video and live stream, live connection with people from all across the world. And so I'm hoping that I can satiate, you know, some sort of loss feeling with that. But also, you know, she loves to watch Daddy's videos. She's inspired from her dad who's traveling around the world. And maybe it's not like the typical mother-daughter relationship, but, you know, there's many different ways to live a life, you know, and I'm hoping that I can live this life, also give to my daughter, and also, you know, provide an opportunity to do what I love. You know, it's a multifaceted move I'm doing here. It's a pretty big deal, you know. I feel in a rut, you know, and I feel somewhat uninspired here in China. I love China, but my mind is traveling around the world. That was the mission I had in my life. And so if you guys have watched my YouTube channel, by the time you publish this, I don't know when you're going to publish this, but when I've kind of got more settled in America, but I'm going to start ramping up my quality and my content again, because I've sort of hit this lull where I'm not enthusiastic to edit and to do the things that I really love to do. I feel I'm in a bit of a depression, and I need to change. I need to shuffle the deck. I need to get out into the world and sort of find my center again. And then I would say if you were asking me why I'm going to America, it's not really about the license. It's not really about filing. I could get my taxes done. It's really about finding that inspiration, finding that gleam in the eye, because I travel around China a lot. I don't know if you guys seen it, but I've been, CRI and CCTV and CGTN. I've been doing a lot of travel, Xinjiang and different things. It's all peppered with politics and disgusting garbage. It's like
In what way?
Well, everything's politicized. There's nothing that you can just say, look at this place from this perspective, from my perspective, and just take it. You don't have to agree with it, but you don't have to call me some sort of a disgusting pejorative.
Oh, you mean the reaction you're getting is politicized, or the content itself is politicized?
Both, And I don't mind. Listen, I believe every video that you watch of mine is my truth. You might not agree with it, but it's my truth. And it's my truth built on the experiences I've had in China. And around the world, not just China, around the world. I've been to North Korea. I've been to different places. So I believe that my opinions have merit and have some value. But I do feel like I just need to distance myself from China a little bit so that it can give me, I want to go to America. I want to see what things are going over there because I've been in China so long that I've kind of, to be honest, I've developed a fairly negative opinion of my home country. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm an honest guy. I feel like I don't know what the hell's going on over there. All I have is the media and news and YouTube. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on in America? And I want to go over there. I want to see it for myself. I want to kind of like dig back into that and be a little bit more nuanced in my opinion so that I have both sides of the story.
What you're saying makes total sense.
Yeah,
actually.
now everything is making sense to me now. Yeah.
You were saying that, Justin, when I get out of here, there's going to be a bunch of conspiracy theories about like I was kicked out of China or whatever, and there's all this thing. To be honest, my doing right now, I'm at 95. Joe Shiruwan,
950,000.
950,000.
Jeez, wow.
I'm almost at 1 million just on my doing.
Nice.
That doesn't include Toutiao, Xiaohongshu, Billy.
For people in the West who don't know, Douyin is the TikTok.
TikTok.
Is TikTok.
Is TikTok.
It's just called Douyin in China.
I have so much opportunity if I stayed in China. I wake up sometimes and I'm like, dude, man, you're the dumbest guy ever to leave China at this point. You're going to go from an area where you feel fairly loved, fairly appreciated, and you're going to go to a place that you are castigating in a lot of ways online and drawing likenesses between the things that are happening in China and in the United States. And you're going to go there, and you're going to go not even back to square one. You're going to almost go to the negatives because you're going to go to a place that has a negative view of the things, the narratives that you spout, Now, as a sideline story, I talked to Cyrus Jansen, who you guys have talked to, and Cyrus is like, you're going to be pretty happy. People are going to be, you're going to find some Chinese who are going to know who you are, because that's probably the majority of people are the Asian, ABCs and stuff like that are going to see you in America and be like, hey, Matt, thanks so much for what you're saying, because Cyrus says it a lot of times. He'll go and he'll find people, and they'll not find people, they'll find him and be like, Jansen, Cyrus, thank you so much, for representing. But like, I was driving here. I took a car from Ningbo. I literally arrived here after a few-hour drive from Ningbo across the Hangzhou Bay, and I was driving, sharing a private car with one of my Annie's friends, family friends, and this guy's pretty wealthy, pretty well off, and he's like, "You have 1 million subscribers on Douyin. If you sold steaks or spices or whatever, it doesn't matter." But he buys steaks, Australian steaks from Douyin. He's like, the guy I buy steaks from is like a legit American millionaire from selling steaks, and he's got like about 2 million subs.
Yeah,
he's like, Matt.
Yeah.
You need to monetize this 1 million subscribers.
For sure.
I have 1 million subscribers.
How many people?
Crazy is that I have 1 million people in China?
You know how many people would wish they could get 1 million followers?
No, seriously.
And I'm like literally walking from that. Now, my Chinese, I plan to, instead of tell stories of China in China, I'm going to tell stories of the world and China from a Chinese perspective outside of China. I want to really focus on learning Chinese. I want to like really broaden these kind of things. But I'm not going to be in China. So the ability for me to monetize that Douyin is going to be hampered, and it just goes to show that I'm not after money. I want to be successful on YouTube and stuff, and I want to achieve a modicum of success to allow me to perpetuate what I'm doing, obviously. But if I was chasing the money, I would
leave.
not be doing the things that I do.
It makes total sense because obviously I just want to put a stamp on that. 1 million subscribers, followers on Douyin, TikTok of China.
Yeah.
Yes, you can literally easily. I mean, just for numbers' sake, I'm translating numbers right now. You can easily be making 15 to 20,000 US a month.
Yeah.
Just naturally without extra sponsors. So it's like,
well, no, Douyin doesn't pay you ad revenue.
No,
you have to get sponsors
because
it's the only way that Douyin
what I mean
works.
is like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you make like around that, like 15 to 20,000 US dollars, that's coming from like you're selling products and stuff like that, right? So that's the corporate sponsor. You can say that,
corporate
right?
sponsors.
But what I'm saying is that your rate, like what you
can ask for
from per
Yeah.
Advertisement is around 15 to 20,000 US dollars on average you can make. You know what I mean? And that's not without actual long-term like signing sponsorships where you can make it even more and bigger.
Yeah.
So yes, you're walking away from a pretty nice cash pile.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like there's also an opportunity maybe to also continue to grow your Chinese viewers. Because now, like, I really like what you said. Number one, from a mental health standpoint, I think it's really great you're going back to the States. Getting back there, a change of environment is oftentimes supposedly very good for people who are going through depressive periods in their lives. So I think that's great. That's awesome. Number two, though, I feel you going back there because a lot of what you talk about is China in the context of from a Western perspective, from an American perspective. But you have a lot of, obviously, you have at least 1 million Chinese people watching you. If you go back to the States and start making content about what the States is like and telling your truth from there, that would be great content for Chinese viewers as well.
Yeah.
Because that's something they'd be very interested in learning about.
Yeah, I think so.
What it's really like in the
yeah,
States.
Yeah. And not like hating on America, just like life differences, cultural differences, some ideological differences.
The same kind of light you're trying to shed on China, you can shed on America for Chinese viewers.
Exactly.
I'd watch because I want to know what it's like in America now.
I want to know too.
I'll tell you what, like you said, I need to center myself and get back into the right headspace. And once I'm in the right headspace, then I can revisit a lot of these opportunities that I have. I mean, like, I'm literally walking away from 1 million subscribers in China.
Yeah.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, I could be shooting myself in the leg, with regards to
like, I mean, if you think about the whole premise of all this stuff is like, you have this life dream to trike around the world. Like, this is like your core value, right? Like, for whatever reason, like, from your values and all that stuff. And so like like just staying in one place for a long period of time is just antithetical to your personality. And it's not like a China whatever thing, right? I mean, like where the fuck else are you gonna, like,
doesn't matter.
Like, you're American, so you got the passport so you can go there.
Yeah.
But you're really just looking for a change of scenery. And more than that, you're looking for a base of operations so that you can then start pursuing your dream.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you connect this to the pandemic. There's billions of people around the world in some way, shape, or form in your type of situation. They might not want to trike around the world. But I guarantee you,
their life
they want to
been
get the fuck out of
upended.
where they are and go travel a little bit. And you can be that inspiration for these people. And like, you don't need to politicize any of this shit, right? It just so happens that you're in certain countries or going to certain countries. But the reality is, take the names off all the countries, right? You just want to be in another fucking place. I did want to ask this, because like the first time I met you, the second time, like, you're like a high energy guy. Like, I mean, you're intense, right? Like the way you speak, like, you're fun to be around. You got so much energy. Like, most people just don't have your level of energy. And every time I met you, like, you've been, amped up like that, right? I'm like,
really? I don't even know.
I'm chill right now.
I'm at about a 2.
Matt's about
I'm at a 2.
I'm about to fall asleep right now.
I'm tired.
I'm like, did this guy do a couple of lines before? I'm like, but he doesn't rub his nose, so he's clean, right? But
it's new stuff, bro. Between the toes.
Exactly. So like, I figure it's like in your genes or in your DNA. Like, there's something about you. Like, you're different. And I gotta imagine, like, over time, there's people like you, right? Like, there's people that just want to sit in their fucking home and watch TV all the time. They want stability. right? And as they get a little, I mean, usually when you're in your 20s, you want to travel all the time. You get 30s, 40s, whatever, and people are different. And I'm wondering, like, was there a moment growing up where you knew you would be you? Like, was it like, you know, like 7 years old and you ran away from home and everyone knew that you were different? Or was there like a trigger at some point in your life where you knew that this was you?
I would be very surprised if I had a conversation from me before I first came to China. Like if the Matt of today talked to the Matt in America and said you were going to climb Everest, ride around the world on a trike, and he would be like, "Who the fuck
out
are
of
you? Get the fuck out of here!" You know. But it's a stretch. Like I'm living a very unusual path. But if you talk to my friends and said Matt's, you know, back in the day, they'd say, that's probably about right. And I'm not saying that putting words in their mouth. I literally asked them that question. I said, hey guys, you know, because I've got a core group of 4 friends. They've been with me since middle school, you know. And
are they like you, or are they more chill?
Listen,
They chill.
my group. Is that an insult?
Are they like you or are they cool?
Are they like you? Or are they handsome? You know? I don't know if I brought this up. It's a philosophy of mine, is that we are all like a soup. You know, we're a conglomeration of spices. You guys provide me this interaction with you guys here with these is something that adds to flavor to my concoction, my potion, my soup, or whatever. My life in China has added a element, a huge element, an overriding element. It is tinged, you know, the flavor of who I am, you know, and that in a way, I don't like to dog a lot of the people I disagree with, like Matt and Winston. Like it was funny because Winston made this video about JaYoe, and he was castigating the government about how it's all communism's fault that this whole thing is happening in JaYoe and why lives are lost. But if you went 2 years ago and you found one of his videos where he was living in Xinjiang, he has a video where he walks around Xinjiang, there's down branches and stuff, and he's pessimistic, a bit of a dick, you know, but his ordinary attitude, you could see who he really is.
His character.
You know, he's like, China's not perfect, you know, these branches are everywhere and people don't know how to drive, you know. You can't drive there, man.
He likes I watched a few of those videos. He was a whiner, but he wasn't like you know, conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. He wasn't like so narcissistic, you know.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was always narcissistic. He wasn't so presumptuous.
He was whiny.
Maybe. But the guy I watched 2 years ago in that video and the guy today, although similar traits, like Justin's saying, like there's some through lines in the pessimistic attitude and this. Listen, something incentivized that guy to go off the deep end.
So I'll offer 2 very controversial statements, right? This is this episode.
Oh boy, here we go.
This episode's not going to ever even be published. But so number 1 is that probably VOA just scours YouTube and finds whiners, and then I think he was radicalized.
Oh no, for sure.
Like he got radicalized. I mean, by VOA.
Hold on, I want to show you.
Well, that's a conspiracy in itself.
Whoever,
we don't know.
but he got radicalized by someone.
Well, he got radicalized. Period. We don't. You know, we can't.
You don't radicalize yourself.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to read an email that I received on July 14th.
From who?
This year?
I'll read it to you. Media inquiry: foreign vloggers in China. Hi, Matt. This is Monica with Mandarin Service, Voice of America. I'm writing this an article about China's effort to tap foreign social media influencers and vloggers to tell the China story. Some media reporters say that many foreign vloggers have been pulled into China's campaign, helping the Chinese government, quote, wittingly or unwittingly, unquote, push its propaganda or narratives on social media platforms that are blocked in China. I wonder if you, as an American vlogger who is doing some China videos, do you say uncomma? I don't think
it's just comma.
Say comma. I think I did that wrong. I was doing good.
Close comma.
Close comma. Could share your views on this issue and your filming experience in China. Next paragraph. A pre-recorded Skype or phone interview will be appreciative. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to your reply. Best, Teng Shu, Monica, reporter for Mandarin Service VOA in Washington, D.C. Okay. Underneath it says in asterisk, VOA reaches a weekly global audience of 278 million people in 47 languages and is delivered on multiple platforms, including radio, television, web, and mobile, via a network of more than 3,500 media outlets worldwide. The Voice of America is funded by the U.S. Congress through the U.S. Agency for Global Media and independent federal aid. Well, I don't see how independent you can be if you're funded by the U.S. Congress. So I received that email. I've actually received BBC emails.
BBC ran with a similar story.
Yeah. But BBC is more focused on the UK. I'm just tertiary. I'm in the pictures, but I don't. I was actually debating whether I should reply to that, because I don't listen. If I can legitimately voice my opinion to VOA and they decide to cut it, that's fine. If they smear it, I can use it, right? Because I can actually say that's not what I said, this is what I said. And if they use it, then at least my voice is heard, in my context, hopefully. But I ended up not.
So you didn't respond?
I didn't respond.
I have a question. I mean, this might be a little bit.
But I think Matt probably got similar email. I'm sorry, Howie.
No, not at all. No. I'm just curious. It's like, because if I was in your position, right, you know what I would do? Because I know some people say, you don't want to get caught in that trap, because all they want to do is put you in a corner and then use those sound bites, cut it together to make you sound like an asshole, right? So, but I'm just curious, like, what if you record the whole thing, like the whole process itself?
Yeah.
So you have a rebuttal
right.
in case you need to.
Yeah.
In case it gets cut up and whatever, because they're just looking for you to say that one thing or that one stutter and then, take it out of context and,
Yeah, no, totally. It could have been. At that point in time when I received that email, I was in the middle of trying to figure out my life, and like maybe if I was in America and I received that email after I'm all settled down in Vegas, maybe I'd bite on it,
Well, but that's not your goal.
But that's not my goal.
Your goal, right?
I don't want to be this guy in this battle.
Yeah, your goal is to fucking travel, laugh, smile, eat good shit. Like,
Eric, I keep, and that's one of the problems that I'm getting caught into. I'm slowly what?
I said, let it out. Do it. Just let it out.
I'm slowly becoming something I didn't want to be. I never wanted to be a fighter in this fight. I wanted to be a fight for humanity, right? Sharing stories of the world and the good and the bad and everything. But I listen, I have a lot of opinions about Xinjiang. I have a lot of opinions about, I don't have a lot of opinions about Hong Kong and Taiwan, because I just don't have a lot of intimate relationship with those issues. I've traveled through those countries. I got opinion of those countries from a traveler's point, but but Xinjiang, I think I have actual, I don't know. Listen, I've traveled into Xinjiang a few times now since you guys and I have talked, and Inner Mongolia, I've seen some things. What's being said outside against China might have threads of truth. Like, China has a movement against extremism, has a movement against things that go against China for sure. But we know that all.
But that's the same. Like, imagine
that's the same as America. Same as everywhere.
Well, it's China's war on terrorism.
Yeah.
Imagine again, you took all the words out, and China, all these words, and then you just took like BLM and all this stuff, and you just had someone who was like an alien and came down and described what happened. And it'd be like, okay, here's a place where, like, imagine like this person was an alien. He had no context, but understood, like, could speak English, whatever.
Yeah.
And then just say, okay, well, describe what you
English,
see.
you bigot. What does he speak in Spanish?
Well, no, because he's in America, so he has to listen to people, right?
Okay.
So
Eric
then
is so racist.
So they go and they like basically describe, it's like a thought experiment. They describe everything that's happened.
Yeah.
And then you have like the similar experiment, and you have the person come to China and different places, right? Then what would actually come out? And that's like the actual truth.
Yeah.
Not like all of the political stuff. And I don't know what would turn out, but at least in the U.S., if they saw like, oh, so this is the rule, like the Congress, right? So this is the place where the people that, kind of control America or whatever, And all of a sudden you had all these weird people and they attacked that place. And you had, like a description of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People will be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, pulling police out and beating them with the American, beating like security officials with Blue Lives Matter flags.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it up.
I really like Eric's point because it's really true. If you took all the names, all the labels,
labeling,
if you took all the labels out of it and just looked at the events, a lot of it would be inseparable from what is happening in the States and all over the West.
Or it'd
right?
be worse. Like
Or
if you
it'd be
took the
worse.
events, the roles,
just-
the roles and responsibilities, like forget the labels, but it's like you have people that are in the government, whatever. You have people that are, that's citizens, right? And you just took all of these roles, responsibilities, events, places, etc., and you described it. Like America might be described as the most fucked up place in the whole world.
Oh, for sure.
The problem, not the problem, but the situation, like problem. I don't want to use words like problem, but the situation with America is that they are the world power, right? It's like if you had a family and your eldest brother could do no wrong, right? And then the youngest brother does the same thing as the eldest brother, and you're like, you're grounded for a week, mister. Well, John did the same thing last week. John's John. Well, America's war on terror is America's war on terror. China's war on terror is bad. I'm boiling it down.
But it's not even framed as a war on terror for China.
Right. I went to Xinjiang, and I saw Uyghur language everywhere. I saw Uyghur people living very comfortable lives. I saw a security state. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's that's it may not be fine, but it is what it is.
But it's also
a
security. It's a security state not because they're Uyghur. It's a security state because it has a long history of extremism and violence in that region.
The crazy thing is that America is north of Mexico and south of Canada. USA. I'm sorry. America is a continent. I know. I'm not, like sometimes I refer to myself as an American, but like it's Canada and Mexico's in there as well. But the United States of America has Canada to the north and Mexico to the south. When they attacked Muslim extremism, they were able to fly bombers from bases that they have all over the world. Many of them pointed targets at China, which is unfair in its face when you think about it. But especially with the blame game of China increasing their military, it's like, well, you're pointing all our missiles at us. What are we going to do, But anyways, they go outside of their borders and they bomb Afghanistan, Iran, Yemen. They're friends with the Saudis, which is a strange tangent to their war on 9/11 induced terror, which most of those guys were trained by the Saudis. I mean, I even have Saudi friends, and a lot of them have come to me in my comment section. Hey, I don't know how about, we're better than just listen, it's just the facts, like a lot of the people in the regime there has supported a lot of shit that ends up trickling onto terrorism activities around the world. I'm not saying you.
Well, do this thought experiment, right? So imagine you're like in the U.S. or any country, and imagine like it's a major event like a Thanksgiving parade or a football game or whatever it is, right? And imagine that there's lots and lots of police officers like everywhere. And if you're like a normal good person, how would you feel about all like this police presence? You'd probably just be like, oh, that's good. It's safe. It'd be normal. It's like, hey, officer, how's it going? Right? Because there's certain like an Olympic event or something like that, a big sporting event. So you would see all that in like a positive context. It's like, okay, like there's a lot of people, we need to be safe. There's cops everywhere. We've all experienced that in a parade. Great. Right? Now imagine this scenario in other places, and then, you can draw your own conclusions.
How about this? How about if 9/11 was Mexicans? You know what I mean? What if 9/11?
This sounds funny.
I'm just saying.
Mexico would be America right now. Mexico would be America right now.
What if 9/11
America would have doubled in size.
What if 9/11 was perpetrated by Texan radicals sponsored by, let's not even say Mexico, let's say Honduras. Something very, very close, intimately connected to America. The situation would be crazy. The situation in Xinjiang is radicalized Syrian terrorists that are Uyghurs that went there from the land in Xinjiang to get radicalized, that have a very, very, listen, some of the situation, especially with my life, I climbed mountains, and I climbed Everest. One of the mountains I climbed in order to train for Everest was called Mushtaga, which was as far west as you could get. From the top of Mount Mushtaga, I could see K2. I could see Pakistan. I could see Tajikistan. That border is open. It's huge. And for as police state as China is, there's no border check. You can walk from Tajikistan or Pakistan into China. If America had a situation where Texas was being like, people from Mexico, you know how quick Trump would build that wall and all of us would pay for, all the Americans would pay for it? I mean, like, it's apples and oranges with regards to understanding this situation.
Yeah.
People think of it from America. Listen, man, we wouldn't go and hurt any of our own citizens and this and that. Well, America is sending bombers from bases in the Middle East with like drone pilots in Nevada to bomb innocent 90, like what is that statistic was
90%.
recently? 90% innocent civilians in countries on the other side of the world, which are creating anger within communities which are fed from Uyghur Muslims in not all, like, listen, I knew a lot of Uyghur Muslims. I knew a lot of Uyghurs. Not all Uyghurs are Muslims. Not all Muslims are Uyghurs. Like there's so many factors. And it wasn't until like I started thinking about even me as an expat in China, right? Who had these preconceived notions of what's going on in Xinjiang. I'm like, well, Muslims are Uyghurs, Uyghurs are Muslims. So first of all, that's not true. There's a lot of like secular Uyghurs. There's I was with CGTN, right? And we were driving down the street headed in Hami. Hami is, cantaloupe?
Yep.
Hamigua. Hamigua is like the cantaloupe of China, right? Now, I was in Hami, and we were driving to like the most popular district in Hami. And all of a sudden, you heard that sound. You guys know that sound. It's that Chinese musical instrument that sounds like a asphyxiated goose. You know that sound? That sound, that instrument, you know what I'm talking about? I forget the name of it, but it's playing, and I'm like, what is that? I could hear it through the rolled up windows of our car, which was a CGTN car. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And so I roll down the window, and this pickup truck drives by, and it's two guys, one with the goose flute, I'll call it the goose flute, and the other with another instrument, and they're playing.
It's like the Chinese violin, right?
Well, no, it was a wind instrument. It's a blow instrument. It just has the sound of a dying duck or goose. It's very, very obnoxious. So they're driving, and their car is decked out in flowers, and then the next car is decked out in flowers, and the next car is decked out in flowers. It was a wedding. And where were they going? They were going to the same place we were. Why? Because it was it was like, what's the one central district? It's like the Bund, in Shanghai. It was like the place in Hami where everybody goes. And so they pull off, and they got like 10 cars, and they're all decked out, and they get out, and they're, they start dancing. We didn't make them dance. It ain't no fucking propaganda. That's a wedding, and they're dancing. The one guy wearing a New York Yankees shirt, like he couldn't make it up. He couldn't make it up. Wearing a New York Yankees shirt, comes up to me, "Hello, my friend. We are having a celebration." I've got it on video. And I'm like, the bride comes out, and the bride has a red veil over her face. Apparently, you can't show her face, and they're about to go to the reception, but they stopped here, and they just started dancing in front of like this, it's just like the Bund, like a Bund. Like they went right to the front of the Bund, and they danced, took pictures and video and stuff. And I'm recording this thing, and I'm thinking I'm with CGTN, which is a state-owned media. BBC state-owned. CCTN is state-owned media. It's just owned by, instead of state, it's corporate. America's government is corporate. It's
VOA,
just a different name.
According to your email, is funded by the U.S. Congress.
VOA, whatever. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm getting out, and these people are genuinely dancing, having a great time, and the Eric, the traveler vlogger in me is like, this is what I want to show. But instead, I feel like as I'm talking and seeing this stuff, I can see in my mind the person with the red blood, on the fur coat saying blasphemy.
Yeah, like it's all staged or something.
It's not. I can't tell a story without some fucking crazy ass undeserved bias.
Well, you know how you can prove this? It's just take your trike and go to like fucking Iceland and just be like, fuck all y'all. I'm not talking about anything related.
There we go.
I'm doing 1 year. Just put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking, I was saying that my business partner is from Xinjiang, right? And so he would share a lot of stories with me. And we were having a conversation like 2014 or so, I would say. Okay. And he was saying, or 15 or so, and he was saying, he's like, yeah, if you come to Xinjiang, it's interesting because you have to go through metal detectors to get to the supermarkets, inside supermarkets and stores and whatever. And I'm like, at that time I was like, really? What? That's crazy. Why? And he's like, well, there's a lot of shit happening. There's a lot of terrorism that happens over there. And obviously there was big news. And so anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you had the whole quote unquote police state, right? For safety, right? And then you can think about, okay, well, let's do a little bit of a comparison here. So what about schools in America with metal detectors in dangerous areas where
my old high school has metal detectors.
Because you need to have safety. Is that a police state type of environment for the school? No, because you just have to have safety, right?
Yeah, that's the double standard.
Right?
I was in Xinjiang in 2015 for climbing Mushtaga. The bellhop in the hotel I stayed at had a flak jacket.
Oh, really?
I remember. I'm like, holy shit! Whoa, what's going on here? Hey-oh.
Well, and I think we should also be more careful, or we can be careful and not using the same rhetoric that maybe people were indirectly criticizing, right? All we have to do is just look at things from multiple angles, not just one angle.
Yes.
I think we could just step back and say, okay, political angle, sure, there's that. Safety, societal, society, social risks, norms. What are the norms in a place? In some places, if you have a lot of people, police officers, if you had a bunch of police officers in a kindergarten, kids would be scared.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think you can kind of zoom out and just look at all the different perspectives and then reevaluate. And we don't have to say if someone has a double standard or not double standard, because then we're kind of playing that. It can easily get into we're criticized. Now we're talking shit about the other side.
Yeah.
But what's the framework of looking at this? Let's look at it from a really objective framework. You make the decision. But for me, I like the smiles, the humor, the curiosity, because I want to live a fulfilling and happy life. I am not going to let myself
ruled by pessimism.
For sure. I don't even talk this type of sort of conversation. Justin knows, I don't really get into. I know this show's never going to be published on any significant platform because it'll be taken down.
Is this one out? Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit more open, but I'm just I just want to live a happy life. I want to wake up. I want to be motivated. I want to go to the gym, do my thing. Maybe work for a corporation and have good colleagues, make some money. That's what I want. And then maybe take some risks in terms of doing some crazy shit, right? Traveling the world. I don't want a situation where my livelihood and living and money is directly connected to me being negative or spreading someone else's message. I don't want to spread someone else's message unless someone else's message conforms with my message.
Supportive of yours.
Yeah. Or you're just calling out shit you see. I think that's kind of maybe what started you down this rabbit hole, Matt. Is I don't think you are a travel vlogger, and you got into the kind of this whole political content realm. I'm guessing it's because you were just trying to call out shit that you saw, and you saw it was largely untrue.
Well, it was a pandemic. It was the beginning of the pandemic when I might have one of the most unique views, at least on YouTube, because I saw the beginning in Wuhan, and this was covered in the last podcast we did. I saw the beginning in Wuhan. Then I went to the United States. I saw the beginning of the American response. And I'm not a political guy. I don't fucking care about this shit. But I could see it's like costing lives. And I was getting legitimately frustrated. And then I'm like, we escaped back to, Lawa 86 escape back to, as opposed, basically flying. We basically flew back to China. And then I've been in China for over a year, seeing the development of how China has been doing this and how the attacks on China. And it's very, it's so obvious. It's like, when your house is a disaster, what are you going to do? You're going to blame the neighbors. You're going to find something about the neighbors. It's very obvious to me that the fault of 600,000 people died in America. I can't get that out of my head. Those are my brothers and sisters, from a human standpoint, as well as from an American standpoint. We're supposed to be better than this. So people are like, Matt, why are you making all this political? Because I care, motherfucker. It's 600,000 people died. What the fuck? You don't care about that? Well, it's China's fault. Listen, if it was China's fault, you'd have 100,000 people dead in Korea. Because they're a percentage, and they're not as big as America, but they're still a huge country. You'd have New Zealand with hundreds of thousands of dead. No, this is a unique specific problem to America and UK and Brazil, and just so happens to be the fucking 3 countries run by buffoons who blame China all the time. So when I came back and I started to see it, I just couldn't keep my fucking mouth shut. Because I'm sorry to swear, but it's just so frustrating, because I keep seeing all these things happening. Well, it's all China this and China shut up, clean your house. Listen, one of the things I've learned as a traveler, is over time you gain wisdom. You become a better person over time. The 19-year-old me was naive. The 40-year-old me is much more nuanced. And those are the people that are dying. The most valuable among us.
Going back to the travel piece, there's this Gustave Flaubert, right? The literary sort of guy, like the author or whatever.
Nice.
I wrote this. I wrote guy. The guy that wrote fucking books and shit.
The guy that writes books. Yeah. Shut up.
I didn't read any of them, but he's famous. Wait, I don't know. Was he a painter or was he a writer? I can't remember. Anyways, he's famous.
He was a comedian. Okay.
He was famous. He has a great quote that I wrote down, and it says, "Travel makes one modest. You see what a tiny place you occupy in the world."
Yeah.
For sure.
While we're on the subject of travel, I promised myself after our last podcast we had with you that I was going to ask you this if I ever talked to you again, and I wanna hear your experience on 2 things. One is your trip to North Korea, and 2, your climb of Mount Everest. Yeah. So I feel like those are kind of 2 really cool life experiences that you've done, but we didn't get. No, we never talked about it, and I'm really interested to hear about it.
Okay, what do you got?
So let's start with North Korea. What was your experience in North Korea?
If I remember correctly,
when was this, by the way?
I had a knee blowout in 2014, 15, and I was supposed to climb Everest, but I put it off for a year. I was supposed to climb Everest in 2015, but I had to put it off to 2016. So I had a year where my meniscus was torn up. I couldn't climb a mountain. I was mobile. And so a friend of mine in Ningbo, Nick, who is an interesting character, he's like, there's this marathon in North Korea.
Marathon in North Korea?
Marathon. If you guys don't know, that's probably the best way to visit North Korea is through this marathon, because people from all over the world are coming. It allows you a bit more freedom than I think if you were to just go by yourself. because there's minders and people that would be watching you. But the minders are now watching like 800 or 1,000 people from all over the world. I mean, Mexicans and French and Americans, and just everybody's there running the marathon. They're all similar, wanting to go to North Korea and see. And it was not cheap. It was like $2,500.
Well, who's organizing
for 4
this
days.
marathon?
There's like I can't remember the names.
Is it a North Korean
No,
organizer?
it's a foreign company that organizes the tour. It's a tour operator, but it's authorized by the North Korean government, you know. And so I got an opportunity. I paid for the tour. It was 4 days for like $2,500. It involved the marathon. I could have done the full marathon. I've done the full marathon in the Great Wall of China. I've done the Great Wall Marathon, which was pretty amazing. Like, there's nothing more tiring than climbing the stairs of the Great Wall. Have you guys been on the Great Wall? Those steps are not like...
They're not even, and they're very, like...
they're steep, you know?
Yeah, steep.
Anyways, there's some where you're clamoring with your hands up the stairs of the Great Wall.
Well, they said they designed that purposely like that, so it would slow down the enemy if they ever got there. Yeah.
But there's only one flight that leaves out of Shanghai to the North Korea, and it's like it's 2 a.m. you arrive, and you're there with all your runner buddies, and the screens pop down from the top of the airplane, and they play this like. It's basically Kim Jong-un's wife is one of the lead singers in one of the biggest pop bands in North Korea, So they play her performance in the plane as you're landing. And then when you land, it's in the dead of night. They take and notate all of your goods, your phones and your cameras and stuff. Now, there's a whole bunch of rules. Like if you take a picture of Kim Jong-un, it can't be from the waist up. It has to be from the feet to the head, and you can't cut off certain things, and it has to be all the same.
Wow.
The fact that you're even able to take a photo of him?
Yeah. No, I mean
like a photo of the photo.
Oh, the statues. Okay. I'm like,
Kim Jong-un
I'm sorry.
is at the airport greeting you.
I'm sorry.
He's at the airport. He's like, hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Full body only.
Full body
what's
only.
that movie
doing
with
selfies with you.
Yeah, what's that movie?
He personally
the interview.
Yeah, the interview.
He personally greets everyone.
Yeah. Welcome to North Korea. No. Actually, it was not Kim. It's Kim Il Sung. Kim Il Sung is his grandfather, So I ran the 10K. The 10K, there's a 10K, the half marathon, which was 22 kilometers, and then the full marathon, which is like 44. No, the full marathon, 40 kilometers, 20, and then 10. My interest to go there was not the marathon. My interest to go there was to see North Korea. That was the purpose. So I was using this as an opportunity to go. Now, Kim, the Arch of Triumph in Pyongyang is the Arch de Triomphe in Paris, but 10 meters taller. North Korea loves to do that. They'll build a spire, and it's just like the one in Washington, D.C., but a little taller, just enough to, But anyways, the Arch de Triomphe, the Arch of Triumph is one of the markers on the marathon route. The other marker was the Kim Jong-un Stadium. It was, I think I got the name wrong. I was in the Kim Il Sung Stadium, which was like right here. I'm moving things on a table in a audio format, so forgive me.
For clarity for the listeners.
Clarity. So yeah. So like I was in the stadium. We started and we'd go around the Arch of Triumph. We'd go around the Kim Jong-un Stadium. And we end up in the Kim Il Sung Stadium. Now, in the Kim Il Sung Stadium, where the event started and stopped, you'd have like paratroopers, you'd have like plane like with smoke on the back, doing all sorts of performances, and you'd have those, you'd have these cheering sections that were all choreographed to a T. Like the amount of those people had to have gone to that stadium multiple times, ordered to chant in the way that they chanted in such a uniform way. I mean, they had these wooden pallets that were taped from the backside, and they were clamping them together in this very, very unique sounding, monotonous, ominous, loud, synchronous sound. And so this is a bit off. My friend Martin was from Sweden, and we both were there running as well. So we the 10K. So the Arch of Triumph and the Kim Il Jong Il Stadium, I'm sorry, I can't remember, was one loop. One loop is 10K. 2 loops is 20, 4 loops is 40. So that's how the marathon was staged. The Kim Il Sung Stadium stood off to the side. That was where the start and the stop was made, right? Well, I did the 10K with Martin, my friend Martin, who was Swedish, and we ran around. And we were supposed to, the 10K was special. It wasn't the half or the full. The 10K did not stop inside the stadium, the Kim Il Sung Stadium. So we came around and we stopped. And we sauntered our way into the Kim Il Sung Stadium. But we were in the Kim Il Sung Stadium and we were looking at 100,000 North Koreans all cheering in unison to all of these amazing things happening. And me and Martin looked at each other and we're like, let's get back in the race. Because I want to do the full marathon and just try and run into let's just act like we're in the full marathon and let's just run into the stadium. Because that'll be amazing, right?
That's an experience.
That's an experience. Because we finished and it was like very little fanfare. The 10K didn't get anything, It was just like, fuck you guys, we're waiting for the
like
half or full marathon.
Losers. 10K.
So me and Martin, I had a selfie stick with a GoPro. It's actually on my YouTube channel. They don't know exactly this story I'm telling you, but so I got the selfie stick out, and then we ran out of the stadium back into the loop around the Arch of Triumph. We looped around it one time, and then we ran into the stadium. Now, the stadium has like a corridor that's like dark, and you walk through the corridor into the main stadium. Now, when we get into the main stadium, the roar of the crowd,
Felt like a gladiator.
It felt, oh my God, it was the most incredible thing ever. And I'm holding a little selfie stick and everybody's cheering. Now,
Wow.
all of these people think that we won the half marathon. Because we were the first.
Yeah.
We were the first people to run through the fucking stadium. So we ran around the stadium. Me and Martin, you watch a video. It's called North Korea. Just type North Korea and JaYoe into my YouTube channel. You can see it. And you can see Martin looking at me. He's like, oh, this is the greatest thing. Thank you for taking us in here. And so we run around and we finish. And the people instantly throw a towel on us because we must be sweaty. I mean, geez, we must have been running 20K in the record time, right?
Yeah.
And so we finish. And I take the SD card out of my GoPro. And I basically stuck it up my ass. I hid it somewhere because I'm like,
Yeah, you can't do that, right?
we broke the rules in North Korea. And, this was before Adam Warmbier. I mean, that guy took a picture off the hotel there. I mean, we didn't steal anything. We just, So we went back into the stands. And I mean, if you watch that video, it's a funny video because as we're watching, people are like, standing ovation for me and Martin, 2 nobodies. And we get back into the stands, and I take my SD card, I put it in my backpack, I hid it somewhere. And I felt bad because the liaison who was in charge of our group comes in escorted by 4 North Korean soldiers, with the dark green hats and the dark green press suits and everything. And they're just like, why did you do that? I says, I'm a dumb American, man. I don't know what's going on. I thought we finished in the stadium. No, we told you you got to go around the Arch of Triumph. I'm like, promise it won't ever happen again.
And you held that promise
and
to
I
this
held
day.
that promise to never happen again. But I did. I hope she didn't get reprimanded. I'm sure it was. I just played the fool. I was dumb, but they didn't. I was thinking they were going to take my SD cards and everything. They didn't. Ended up, I think a lot of it was bloviating because by the time we left, they looked at our phone, but they didn't go through the phone. So
Well, what are they looking at your phone for then if they're not going through the phone?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just performative, maybe. They certainly didn't go through I was expecting them to go through our SD cards and look at all the stuff, but it wasn't quite that. I mean, we don't have a lot of time here, so I'm not going to get into like there's a lot of interesting other stories to my trip to North Korea, but I thought that was, to be honest, all people want to see is their children have a better life than they do. If you really boil it down, like obviously our group might be different from that but the majority of people are families that want to see a better life for their kids. And China,
for sure,
in spades.
Yeah, for sure.
The kids here have a better life than their parents, and I want to share that. In North Korea, I don't think that their kids are going to have any worse off than them. It's just going to be a sort of a stagnation of this sort of rule. As long as you can put food in your belly and be happy, a lot of North Korea's problems are brought on by sanctions. Like North Korea could be a lot better place if everybody just sort of like loosened the belt loops, but then you've got this crazy ass government that's like, it's not as an easy an issue. Like I have actually friends like Daniel Dumbrill and some, like they actually have a more positive view of North Korea than I do. They're like, it's all sanction related. It's all that. And I do believe that sanctions are used in nefarious ways as much as they're used in productive ways.
Oh, for sure.
And North Korea's people are suffering because the leadership of a few, goofballs.
Well, like you would say, it's very nuanced.
It's very
complex.
nuanced. Yeah.
Well, look, Matt, I'm really happy you had a chance to come on our show before you left, and I got a chance to see you. I wish you the best of luck on your travels, on your future. I mean, obviously, we're gonna stay in touch, but
this is not the last time.
I genuinely hope I can see you again, and we're gonna share some more interesting stories when I see you next time. But who knows when that will be? But good luck on everything, man, and be safe out there.
I don't know when we're going to publish this, because I talked to you about.
You let me know.
I'm actually a little nervous about going to America. I didn't want to let people know that when I was going to America, exact time, because I want to get a lay of the land before I start announcing that. I got a lot of content on the channel nobody's ever seen before from my time in China, but I'm really excited about this next level, sort of a return, but also like I've learned a lot. This pandemic has taught me a lot about patience, about reorganizing, about monetizing a channel, about like what people want to see versus what you end up giving them. And so this is going to be an interesting placeholder for this point in time, which is a very unique time in my life and a unique time in my perspective on the world. And it'll be interesting to see where this goes. So I really, in some ways, I feel like I'm giving up China in its golden hour when I could really help, like, maximize my life here in China and everything. And in other ways, I'm following my true north, like Eric was saying. And so this podcast is going to be, because you know what? I haven't recorded anything. I don't even have videos in the can of this period of time. What I've been kind of talking to you guys about, I don't have, normally I'd be like, yeah, I got vlogs that'll back up this story. So this is kind of like my opportunity to kind of talk about where I am at this point, where I hope to be in the future, and the reasons I'm making this move. And so this is a very important for me to kind of unload this.
It's like a catalyst for you.
This is going to be a time capsule.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule. Yeah, catalyst. So,
well, look,
thank
man.
you. Cool, man.
Cheers,
thank
bro.
You. Cheers.
It's always a pleasure.
Cheers.
Yeah, I got to get to the airport, man.
Thank you for stopping by. I mean, that's amazing.
Of course.
Matt, thank you for choosing us to tell this story.
Yeah. Godspeed, man.
Good guys. Talk to you later.
Well, we'll see you around, brother.
It's nice to have an honest drink.
Yes. Oh, yeah. A real honest drink.
I see what you did there, man. I see what you did. All right, guys. That was Matt. I am Justin.
I'm Eric, very inspired by Matt.
And I am Howie.
All right, guys. Be good, be well, be safe. Peace.
JaYoe.
The rising sun will see